behalf of K.E. Shroff College and Friday School of Economics, we welcome our today's speaker, Dr. Sampati Guha from TISS, okay, Tata Institute of Social Sciences. Madam, it's a pleasure to have you today this evening, and we are inaugurating the activities for this academic year for the Friday School of Economics by your enlightening talk. So without taking much of your time, I welcome you again to this platform and to the K.E. Shroff College. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Now let me introduce today's resource person, a great mentor, academician, leader, and researcher, Dr. Sampati Guha. Dr. Sampati Guha is working as professor and chairperson at the Center for Social Entrepreneurship, School of Management, Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. She is development economist and has done her PhD in economics from Jadavpur University in 2004. After her PhD, she worked in reputed institutions such as Indian Institute of Dalit Studies, New Delhi, and Institute of Rural Management, Anand, IRMA, Gujarat in 2006. She was selected as Sir Ratan Tata Fellow at the London School of Economics and Political Science, UK, for her postdoctoral study in 2007. She has joined Tata Institute of Social Sciences and launched a new MA program in social entrepreneurship and has run the center single-handedly for 3 years. She, along with his colleague, Professor Satyajit Muzumdar, set up Social Innovation Center at the Center for Social Entrepreneurship, School of Management and Labor Studies, Tata Institute of Social Science, Mumbai, supported by UGC in 2011. She has mentored more than 40 social startups. Her areas of research are microfinance, women entrepreneurship, micro enterprises, social entrepreneurship, financial inclusion, and development economist. She has published articles in national, international journals and in books. She has attended more than 30 national and international conferences. I request Dr. Sampati ma'am to please enlighten us with your experience and knowledge. Over to you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you all, and I'm glad that you invite me in this Friday forum. I'm thankful to Arun sir and all other professors who are team of this college and beloved students. I am going to share my slides here. Today, I basically talk about the one segment of the women entrepreneurs, that is, micro entrepreneurs. Why? Because when we talk about aspiration, entrepreneurship, opportunity, all this segment of women entrepreneurs are, fighting a lot to aspire to fulfill their aspiration, and in a process, though their contribution is significant, but there are a very less talk about this segment in the whole economic literature. So when you talk about the women micro entrepreneurs, maximum research work, you will get in the continent of Africa, not Asia, not America, not Europe also. Okay, so why it is so? So there I started my journey in the research on this topic from 2011. Because when there is a microfinance literature which says that microfinance borrowers should be graduated to micro enterprises, and there are several work of NABARD and other banking sector also. You can see those reports, and Sadhan's reports are there. So I got to know about a small project I also did with NABARD in the year of 2010, where we look at the 4 states whether that process of graduation is happening or not. So several small stories also, give me the idea that can we have proper research in this area. And then later on, I also post pandemic, I started also look at this segment because they are very vulnerable in terms of access to resource, in terms of access to or I would say that distribution of the income and all this. So let's start with a small definition of micro enterprise. It's basically type of small business and having 5 or fewer employees, and they have generally up to 20 employees they have. And if I go to the government of India's definition, and the last definition we got in 2020. Apart from that, MSME census 2006-7 also, it talks about limit of investment in plant and machinery, that was 5 lakhs during 2006-7, and investment in equipment also does not exceed 10 lakh rupees. And we also see that 95% of enterprises are micro enterprises in India among all the medium, small micro enterprises. So that's the report we get in 2006-7 census of MSME. And 2020, just after the during our budget session, and then later on in the March, government of India said that no, because there are a lot of inflationary pressure, and there are also rising the I would say that the reducing the value of INR, and that's why we need to change the definition of the MSME sector. So micro units, if they have investment up to 1 crore and equipment investment up to 5 crore. So that is the next level of so generally, if I consider the Mumbai city, what exactly these micro units are doing, you can see that there are a lot of production. Okay, leather industry, there are a lot of fashion industry or garment industry like Zardosi work. Then there are also bamboo products. There are small ventures, small product related ventures. Generally, manufacturing, units, small units. You can see lot of women micro entrepreneurs are engaged into these kind of enterprises. Now, contribution, if I look at the contribution in Indian economy, we can see that 44% of the total output produced by MSMEs in India, if I look at the gross output contribution of that particular sector. And micro enterprises, their employment capacity is also not negligible, because micro enterprises employ around 70% of total employment created by the MSME sector. Each of the enterprises on an average employs 4 people in India right now, and 60.22% of enterprises are operating in the rural sector. So rural employment also, you can see that a lot of contribution of the micro enterprises in such cases. And if I look at the state-wise distribution of micro enterprises, Uttar Pradesh, West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, you can see that Uttar Pradesh and West Bengal has a lot micro enterprises. And but the thing is, if I look at within the micro enterprises, only 9.09% units were reported to be women enterprises, whereas 62.43% enterprises were be owned by the socially backward group. So why I'm clubbing the women with and comparing with other social groups like SC, ST, minorities, because these are all grouped clubbed into the weaker section. So That's why I comparing. So when other backward groups have more representation, women has very lesser representation, and it is not increasing. So if we look at the overview of enterprises led by women in India, you can see that 2017-18 onwards, there is a stagnation of whole enterprises run by the women. It is not only the micro, medium, large, all. If I take that data, it is not very rosy picture in case of the women entrepreneurs. And then you can understand that if this is the whole entrepreneurship picture, then micro enterprises also doesn't have that different picture altogether. So status of women's entrepreneurship in India, a little bit I can see that education, manufacturing, mining, quarrying, these are all the sectors where you can see a little more concentration of the proprietary establishments of the female owner to 2014 onwards. 2014, basically the economic sense says that education and skill development has 23% of financial and insurance activities 21%, and thanks to microfinance, there are a lot of owner of microfinance are also women. Manufacturing, electricity, gas, steam and air conditioning supply, human health and social work activities also 12%. So this is the distribution. And state-wise distribution, you can see that if I consider the female entrepreneur there, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Andhra, all the southern states, you can see that are the front runner. And now if we look at the literature, whether it is India based literature or Asia based literature, I got a common thread. So there are lack of access to resources. Resources, I mean, not only finance, but also the other non-financial physical resources also, like workspace, raw materials, supply of. And you all know that in our country, especially in this context, there are mobility is limited in few parts, few pockets of India. Still women mobility to outside world is very very limited. And it's not that resources are not available, it's only that they don't have the proper network to manage those resources or access to those resources. Sometimes they don't know whom to approach. It's as basic as like that. And most of them are also unregistered, because most of these micro enterprises belong to the informal sector. And when it is in unit, so when it is in the informal sector, it doesn't have proper registration, and so not accessing any benefit of the schemes also. If you are not registered, even if government is issuing lot of schemes, you are not able to access to those schemes. Okay, so when we are surveying what are the schemes are available for the micro units, and if you go to the MSME web page, you will see that there are several schemes and very nicely designed schemes. But the first barrier is that because they are not registered, it is not on the record, government record, they cannot apply. So this is another problem in case of the women led micro enterprises also. Now then I come to the fine. Now when your unit is informal, you are not able to apply for the formal loans. Okay, if you go to the any formal sector bank, and if you ask for business loan, they will ask you so many documents. Okay, and it is I don't curse them, because it is a public money, so they have to go by certain laws and rules, right? Now when they are asking for similar kind of let's say registration number, or let's say license number, they will not be able to provide. So lack of access to the credit has always been a major hindrance in promoting micro enterprises. Bankers are ready to give, but there are a lot of issues related to the registration and the legal criteria that's not matching. And when it is happening, it's a kind of a big bottleneck. Okay. And also in such, and also you might ask that why not they approach to the microfinance. Generally, if you think about the business loan, these are the business loan, like little more amount of money is required, 50 lakh, 50,000, 1 lakh, 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs. Microfinance institutes always provide a small amount of loan. Okay. And if you want to get a more than a lakh amount for the loan, then you have to have a like 10 years of membership or 15 years of membership. It's not all that easy to get a easily available microfinance loan for the business purpose, and whatever they are getting, that is not enough. So there is a supply demand mismatch. Okay. And you might ask me that there are small finance banks now these days. There are 10 big microfinance institutions got the banking license, and they got it in the year of 15, and you know that 2017 onwards they are you know transitioning from the structure of NBFC or NGOMFIs to small finance bank. But there are only 9 or 10 banks in whole India. That is also not, even if they are trying to cater to the small businesses, there are not many. Okay, has a small finance bank. So that's also there. Now, marketing and branding is also largely missing. Mm. So, and sometimes I also see that on the ground, in the name of the micro enterprises, actually they are the private workers. So though they have a lot of skills to run the business, but somehow to avoid the problem of registration, the problem of availability of the raw materials, they love to be work as a piece rate workers rather than an entrepreneur. Okay, so they generally work with the vendors, and who supply them the raw materials and who give them the order, and then they just the supply the order. So that's the piece rate worker. So scientifically you cannot call them entrepreneur, or they are self-employed person but not the entrepreneur. So marketing and branding is also largely missing, and scaling up opportunities are also less, because these micro entrepreneurs, they don't have any big aspiration. Generally, they start these enterprise for their survival. It is not the opportunistic way of the way we look at the other counterpart and their enterprises. Generally, micro enterprise, if you go, which is run by the male counterpart, you can see that their growth strategy, you can see their opportunity, you can see their opportunity identification. Where, but in case of these women micro entrepreneurs, their basic goal is to just to survive. And that's why you can see that the scale is very very small scale these enterprises have. So now if I look at the COVID-19 pandemic and its impact on micro enterprises, I already mentioned that they are majorly into the manufacturing. Okay, small manufacturing unit. Now, due to that 2020 March, the major lockdown declared by government of India, and it was happening in all the states. And due to lockdown, they are not able to access to any resources, and we got a call every day, from the SHU women and who started group ventures and all this. They said that what change we need to incorporate in our, because we don't have the raw materials, we are not allowed to meet the group, because there is a lot of social distancing and all these things, and we are not getting the permission. Production almost stalled. So that is a very big issue for any small entity. Access to finance is a major issue, because when you are not producing, already you have outstanding loan, that means you have indebtedness, and on top of that, for what reason you are going to ask for finance, and who will give you the finance? Microfinance institutions also not giving you, any informal institution also will not give you, because they all know that your production stalled, there is no income resource, and also you have certain indebtedness. So it's a kind of a sandwiched situation, that you are not able to create the demand. Um, you might supply if there is a demand, and already you have a indebtedness. So all the financial institutions are saying no to you. Now there is also another Government of India's announcement of rupees 20 lakh crores Atmanirbhar packages. Everybody was gaga about the Government of India. This is a big package and all this. What is the ground reality? Who are going to get the benefit? This package, all it is a kind of, because you are all economic student, that's why I'm using little bit economics. Macroeconomics thinking. So think about it. When government is declaring any loans, Atmanirbhar package is a loan, right? It is a monetary package. It is a monetary policy. It is not fiscal policy, right? Nobody is giving you the grant. Nobody is giving you the subsidy. What you are getting the subsidy, if you have an outstanding loan, then you might get little bit interest rate subsidy, but you have to repay. It is not write off. Okay, and if you have a record, then only you can apply for the further loan. So most of these micro entities, they never got the formal loan, so they are not the part of this package. Okay, so this is a big problem with the micro enterprises led by the women, because they are, and you might say that mudra loan is just 20,000, 30,000. It doesn't business it you can call it as a consumption loan, maybe giving some ease during the risk and uncertainty, but not for the production. And when you are not, your operation is stalled, you are not able to earn, and you are not offering the salary, retention of employees is also a big issue in this industry. And then it is also creating an unemployment problem, and we all observed the last year the reverse migration. So all the laborers, they went back, they suffered a lot, right? So this is all the supply side issue. Now come down to the demand side issue. Now when pandemic broke out, we all only focused on our health and basic goods like groceries or vegetables or food fruits. You tell me, how many of us went for buying clothes and other accessories and all these? So there is a mass, if you look at the market, there is a big change in the consumer behavior. People were scared. It is not their fault. They were scared. They are facing an unknown social and health phenomenon. And there is so much sorrow. There's so many people lose their close relatives, right? So in this mental state, you are not in a position to enjoy your consumption. So changing the consumer behavior also create a shrink of demand of certain products. Even if you are ready to manage your supply side, but there is no demand. Okay, so this is the all pandemic situation, how it is created. Many of the experts I have heard, all the big economists, webinar and all this, some of them also suggested to take part in the e-commerce platform. Okay, so they said that why they we need to connect them to the e-commerce platform so that door-to-door delivery will be happening. They can take the help of Amazon and so many. But what, yeah, but what is the reality? Are we ready to adapt this solution? Mr. Subhas, can you just unmute, mute yourself? Mr. Subhas?
Mr. Subhash, there's too much of noise from your side. Please mute yourself.
I think he is not able to manage the audio thing.
Yes, I think so. You continue, madam.
Yeah. So now, if this is a solution, e-commerce platform, access to e-commerce platform, if this is a solution, but what is the ground reality? Are we ready to adopt this solution? Are we checking the infrastructure available to the all these 60% micro entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs in the rural areas or in the slum pockets? What is the reality? Now, when we are accessing the e-commerce platform, we need continuous power, we need continuous internet, right? These are basic infrastructure. Now, I will look at the pre-pandemic data on the power sector. Let's see what is the power distribution in India, okay? And also telecom subscriber. So if I don't getting into deeper in this, I will show you some of the figures which will help us to understand the why this is not a big solution for the micro entrepreneurs who kind of enterprises they are running. Now look at this telecom subscriber. So we have wireless and wireline, right? Two modes of telecom thing. So here, if we look at the urban, just last 2 points, urban teledensity and the rural teledensity, you see that urban and rural, if you compare, the urban density is almost 3 times more than the rural teledensity. What does it mean? Means what is the internet penetration in case of the rural areas, because our major micro entrepreneurs are staying in the rural, 62%, right? Now, wireless subscribers in India, when I look at that, the same teledensity, same figure. So look at this urban teledensity and rural teledensity, where we can see that it is really lot of discrimination, or I would say that inequality in the distribution of that things. Now, internet subscribers in India, because of thanks to mobile phone and all mobile connectivity, then also you can see that so much it actually doesn't bridge the gap between the rural urban divide. Okay, so you look at the urban internet subscribers per 100 population, where it is for urban is 104.25, means one subscriber might have 2 connections also. Okay, but in case of rural penetration, it is only 27.57. Out of 100, only 20.57 have the access to internet connection. Okay, so, and if I look at the September 18, December 18, March 19, June 19, September 19, just previous the pandemic situation, there is not much change in the teledensity. So if pre-pandemic situation is such that post-pandemic we don't expect that there is a huge change in the this density. Now, so all India figure I already mentioned you. Now I also look at the region wise the power, which is the very basic for us. We need a continuous connection, right? If you look at the region wise status of the power consumption, you might see that okay, it is increasing, decreasing, all this. You need to compare these consumers, percentage of consumers of any of the state with the total population. Means percentage of population of India, how many percentage of Indian population stays in that particular region. And if you see that, if you tally that population percentage of each of the state and the percentage of the consumer in each of the state, it's not up to the mark. So for example, if I take northeastern state, we all know that 4% of the total population are staying in northeastern states, right? Why I'm talking about northeastern? Because the figure is very easily understandable. So 4% people are staying in northeastern region. Now, if you look at the power consumer percentage distribution, it is not more than, even if I go to the 2017, it is just 2.74%. So there is a mismatch. So 4% population के लिए only 2.7 out of 4%, only 2.74% are accessing the continuous power. Okay, so we can see that there are also lot of distribution digital divide exist in our country. So how come we expect that these micro entrepreneurs can solve their problem of the production or the demand side problem through accessing e-commerce platform? Okay, so what I'm saying that due to divide in power distribution, micro enterprises are facing digital divide. Even if number of accounts are increasing in pre-COVID situation, it is difficult for them to improve the aspect of usage of finance. And because of that, livelihoods are suffered a lot. Look at the northern states and the northeastern states where tourism based industry, bamboo industry, these are all major industry, agricultural product, transport, etc. In normal time they have a good flow of income, but now these are, especially apart from agricultural products, tourism, bamboo industry, transport, those are the industry are suffering a lot. And if livelihoods are suffered, it is also affected access to finance and asset, financial and asset building. Okay, so as long as you are not building your asset for any enterprise, your liability or your access to finance or any other resources are also not growing. So how do you play with the scale? How do you earn the economies of scale or earn the economies of scope? And also that if it is not scalable, then cost efficiency, achieving cost efficiency and technical efficiency is a very, very difficult problem, right? So economic side of problem, if you see, and I hope that all of you have gone through the micro and macroeconomics in your initial days of graduation. So these are all very easily understandable, and when you look at the status of the basic infrastructure like power and the teledensity, we can easily understandable that the technological diffusion in such enterprises is a very big task, because we are all privileged people. we can have a continuous power, we have continuous internet thing. Then also sometimes we are facing technical glitches, right? And where these women who are just a survival kind of enterprise or entrepreneur, how do they access to all such sorts of infrastructural resources so that they can also cope up with that risk of pandemic or uncertainty of pandemic. Now if livelihoods are suffered, it is also affected access to finance and asset building. And that's why you know that when I am not able to manage my supply side, I am not manage my demand side, how do I do the marketing and scaling up? Those are the issues. Any enterprise building, those are the things are very much required, right? So marketing, scaling up are also major issues. And in case of women micro entrepreneurs, another problem, there are several women micro entrepreneurs who are not properly literate, who are very semi-literate, who do not understand sometimes the language of the market also. Hmm. So I'm not, disrespecting them, but they are struggling. That's the ground reality. They are struggling. Some of them are also very innovative in nature. But that you cannot generalize. There are few women entrepreneurs who change their production line, who are tailors. They started making the mask. Okay, suppose who are handling the plastic waste, they are creating different products with that plastic. Okay, health products also sometimes, some of them said that we are learning some technique how to use that plastic and as well as the cotton fabric to make a different fabric for the mask and all these. Some of them also getting into the sanitizer business, right? So but it is not everybody's cup of tea, right? uh, Generally if you see that the people are who are micro entrepreneurs are in the nearby city or in the pocket of the city, they are trying to manage quite well. But those who are in the very interior part of the villages, it is very difficult for them to think also, because the new resources to access to new raw materials also may be a problem for them. And there is also travel restriction during the pandemic and the lockdown period. So what is the probable solution? Because only we are talking about the problems, it's not that we can't do anything. We the privileged people, we have lot of things to do when this kind of, and the pandemic gives us so many problems, and it is I say that it's a very good time to think for others, which we are not doing for a long time. So so explanation and awareness of government schemes, rightly mentioning, and to access that government scheme, what are the conditions they should what are the conditions mandatory, and they should also create some kind of registration or the small help, so and which are the company structure, whether they should registered as a proprietary firm or as a LLP. Those are also very much important issue. Like proprietary firms, they cannot access to any of the government scheme. Hmm. But the moment you have LLP registration or private company registration, I think section 8 companies, so you are eligible to access to the scheme. So all these small pertinent information, that awareness is not there still now. Awareness about how to register their enterprises are small. Everything is digital now. Sometimes the broader local government, like in case of the panchayat, or in case of let's say our city, the corporators or the corporations, they can also come up with this kind of awareness campaign. से एक टोटल कैंपेन हो जाए कि रजिस्ट्रेशन प्रोसेस हो गया, ठीक है। वी हैव दिस काइंड ऑफ कैंपेन, राइट। आधार कार्ड ऐसे ही बने थे, पैन कार्ड ऐसे ही बने थे। व्हाई नॉट द रजिस्ट्रेशन ऑफ द small entrepreneur or enterprise will not happen, right? So that those are the areas we need to really work on. Need to aggregate these ventures through social media, a common platform, a small platform we can also create where group of, देखो सबके पास WhatsApp group है, so can we have as a students of economics or as a future citizen, can we make a just to talk to the similar kind of business people and women and create a WhatsApp group and teach them how to communicate, how to manage your resources. So they need to aggregate these ventures through social media, because we use social media for very bad reasons. We are not actually using it in a significant manner. We are not using it for the mankind. There is also trend in selling products in e-commerce platform. Now suppose a young bachelor students of economics or management, if they can create or connect as a let's say marketing company you set up and you just connect the producers and the this e-commerce platform, that would be a very good approach. However, women micro entrepreneurs also need to help to connect them to this platform. Due to lack of role models and social capital, they suffer a lot, because when men have lot of you know uh, that network, women micro entrepreneurs, they are lagging because they have also double burden of the domestic chores and as well as their enterprising activities. So there is need an accelerator who can create a platform or who can create a platform where they can access to those kind of network and all this. So and also in this problem, not only the monetary policy, fiscal policy intervention is also welcome. Okay, those who are not getting the I'm not saying that give them the subsidy, but if you can create a special loan for them and give a more gestation lag for the repayment, that is also very much. And some of the subsidy they can get, for some subsidy in terms of registration of the farm, some subsidy in terms of, let's say, some portion of the raw materials, you are getting little bit subsidy. Those are very much I feel that any crisis, we need public works program, we need government spending. So we cannot just say that no, it's such a big country, we don't need a fiscal policy measure. We need, but I think even matching grant concept is also very good thing, that you give 20,000, I will give you 20,000, right? So those are the different policies we can think about for the overcoming this kind of problem, pandemic related and general any normal time problem also, we can do that. So thank you, I stop here, and you may ask me whatever you want to ask.
Participants, you all can unmute yourself and ask questions to the guest, if any.
Hello.
Hello.
May I ask question?
Yes.
Just I want to know that 10 big NBFC which have granted permission to finance. Can you name that, or where someone can find that on website?
I can name that, but you can also visit the RBI website where it is already listed down. Like ESOP is a ESOP, Ujjivan, Bandhan Bank. These are all small finance bank, and even there is Assam. That bank is, I think, AE or something. So Suryodaya in Mumbai. So you can go to the RBI website and search the small finance bank. All the reports will come.
One more question, madam. Thank you for the first answer. I will visit RBI website and will get all the details. Second question is all the problems, all the hurdles which are facing women enterprise. You have listed and explored it very well. But what can be done for sales, marketing, and branding specifically of their products?
I told you that for them doing the marketing and branding may be a very big hurdle, right? But we need an accelerator. Okay, we need accelerator, and also we need a kind of platform, maybe a group of maybe some corporates also can help to create a platform where they can also connect it, and we need little bit social enterprises who can market their products. Say for example, as we have a lot of examples, like if you look at Jaipur rugs in Rajasthan. So they connected all the women who are making the rugs, right? And they are giving the platform where these women are selling, and now their companies, it is also abroad also they have outlet. Okay, Seba also did a lot of things about the women entrepreneurs. They are making clothes, and Seba gives them the platform for the marketing, and their first ladies, in the name of their first lady women entrepreneur, their brand is created Hansiba. So we have a lot of examples. They might not be able to do on their own, but we need a create platform. Those who are interested to work with them, they can do, and there are several social organizations are also doing.
Thank you, madam.
Yeah,
Madam, ask your question. The second slide in your presentation, which you showed, that there were small NGOs working over there. Are they Mumbai based? And
it is not NGOs, ma'am. They are all individual micro entrepreneur.
Okay,
they are all in the slum pockets of Mumbai.
Okay, they are financed by. They are on their own.
Some of them are microfinanced, and there are also some of them have informal association called Patperi.
Okay.
So they contribute, they take it out, then they can also giving that money back to Patperi. So which we call Roska. Rotating.
Okay, madam, do you know where they are based and where they work? Have you
they are in the Chitta camp. They are in the Chitta camp. They are in the Dharavi. All the leather works are happening in Dharavi. So you might not be. You should not go alone. What you can do, those you search who are working with them. You figure out the NGOs and then you go with them.
Okay, so we'll have to connect with the NGOs and then go.
Hello.
One minute, Samita madam, 1 minute. Yes, madam. Yes, Sampati,
like
madam.
if you contact any microfinance institutions who are working in such slums like Annapurna Mahila Mandal, then there is also, you can talk to the Ujjivan or Bandhan Bank. Through them you can connect.
Okay. You said Annapurna Mahila Group, correct? And
Annapurna Parivar.
Annapurna Parivar. You said Bandhan Bank, and there was one more name, madam. One more name.
Ujjivan.
Can you spell
is also Ujjivan. JJIVAN. Ujjivan.
Okay, Ujjivan. All right. So they are all connected to those people. Okay. Thank you, madam. Thank you.
Yeah.
Samita madam, you had a question. Go ahead. Mute yourself and ask a question.
Good evening, Samapti madam. I have one question that you told that after connecting all those women, some may be literate or some may be half literate. Even in spite of providing the platform, also they are unable to utilize the money. Sometimes they are getting the loan facility from this NGOs also. Even after providing the literacy, how to utilize the money and how to get transfer those money into the employment income earning activity, but many of them maybe are able to do, but many of them are unable to do also. So what is the reason for that?
What is the
Reason for that, that many of them are providing the training facility also, they
see?
are unable to?
We are the teachers. We only look at the formal education, right?
Yeah.
There are also our society where social learning happening. So there are several people who are who have got the exposure. They are maybe their family business is there, or their husbands is also doing the business. So continuously they are into a certain ecosystem of the business. Even if she is illiterate or semi-literate, she will pick up quickly. But there are women, maybe there no connection with the business, and they're all are maybe their family members are like construction worker or any informal work they are doing. So in such cases, the ecosystem is missing. They will also learn. Maybe they will take more time. They will not learn. They will learn. Maybe they will take more time.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay.
Madam, these NGOs, are you connected to them in any way?
I'm connected to Annapurna Paribar. I'm
Okay.
connected to, there is also some NGO in Dharavi, Sneha. So that is also health NGO.
Okay.
So yeah, few of the NGOs I connected because I did a lot of survey in the field. That's why I know.
Okay. So if need be, we can ask you also for some guidance, right, ma'am?
Sure.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Now can we?
Any more questions?
Yeah, please, sir. Do you have any other questions? Any students? Do you have any question? Or you are switching off your video and doing whatever, playing games or whatever?
Yeah. Nandini, ma'am.
Mr. Sonu Kumar, the feedback link is there in the chat box already. Please scroll up and you will get it. I request all of you to just switch on your camera for 1 minute for the screenshot, please.
मैम मेरा ऑन नहीं हो रहा है.
Okay.
मैम होस्ट डिसेबल करके आ रहा है.
क्या मैम? मेरे तो नहीं हो रहा है यहाँ. It's not taking place.
Okay, now see.
No.
Yeah,
Yes. Okay, thank you. Yes.
Can we move to our last session?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay, so I would like to request Professor Samita Sengupta, ma'am, please give the vote of thanks.
Okay, good evening to all. Thank you, Arun sir. I, Samita Sengupta, member of FSC. It's my pleasure to propose vote of thanks. First of all, I extend my deepest gratitude to our respected principal, Madam Dr. Lily Bhushan, whose consistent inspiration has motivated us to take up this program. Secondly, my sincere thanks goes to our dynamic management whose support is always with us. Thirdly, I extremely express my sincere gratitude to our eminent speaker, Dr. Samapti Guha, who has very elucidatingly explained the women entrepreneurs' condition and their present scenario, their difficulties, what kind of difficulties they're facing, and at the same time, what kinds of solutions also that can be given to solve their problems so that they can improve their economic status and all kinds of status in their life, thereby leading to a respected lifestyle. My sincere thanks goes to Chairperson of FSC, Dr. Arun Chandane, who has been supportive for us with all the time. I also extend my gratefulness to our HOD, Mrs. Nandini Katti, whose support are always with us. My warmest thanks goes to all participants who have spent the time to attend this program very patiently. So the thanks goes to and also my appreciation goes to the teacher members of FSC whose consistent support has made this program possible. My warmest thanks goes to all student volunteers whose constant support has made this program a great success. Last but not the least, my deep appreciation also goes to media person Ms. Arashi for her consistent support and coordination. Once again, thank you to all, and it's over to Arun sir.
Arun sir, before we shut down, Samapti madam, we would definitely like to be in touch with you. We would like to work more upon this microfinance part for our students and for the faculty. So I hope at that time you will guide us in the right way.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, thank you. Arun sir?
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Samapti madam. Thank you to all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for being here, and we'll keep in touch surely.
Sure.
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.